Raised here in Richland Center, got out of high school, Richland Center class of '85, 2 years at the campus here, and from there I went off to college at Winona State University. Got out of there in 1989, worked the next 10 years in the newspaper industry, first in La Crosse, then Rochester, Minnesota, and then 1 year with the Wisconsin State Journal, and which brought me back to Wisconsin from Minnesota in 1998. And I lived in Dane County for almost 20 years, most of that time in Waunakee, which is where my kids went to school. And came back to Richland Center in 2016, and I've been here since, and I have no plans to ever leave again. My dad's family's been in this county since the 1850s. You may remember some of my ancestors on that side. My grandpa was Ernie, had a barber shop downtown. My dad's brother Denny was a rival coach for years. He taught at Spring Green, River Valley, and coached girls softball and basketball. A lot of folks in town know Denny. And Dad was a barber with Grandpa downtown. And my mom is Jeannie, and she taught grade school at Riverdale after going to college here at the campus as well. And she is the daughter of Lawrence and Marion Soul. And Grandpa was county board here, 24, 26 years, long time. Served on more committees than I can remember, and was involved in local politics through that and also through the AARP. Both he and my grandmother, Marion, were presidents of the local AARP at different times, and that's where the political bug got me, is watching them and learning from them through my whole childhood and adulthood and their civic participation. And basically their experience is what led me to run for city council. I was elected in this last year in April of 2019 after I'd been a police commissioner here for 2 years. And I won. I'm on the council and have been involved several different committees. I'm the chair of the safety committee. I'm on the fire committee. I'm on personnel and insurance, public works, and tourism, which has put me out in the community, and really through that I've been able to get a grasp of how city government is run and what it takes to be effective. I got on the council, got involved in several different things, and it was actually some of my peers on the council who first approached me about running for mayor. They were happy with what I was doing, and they liked my approach to government, my ability to think critically, come up with a good solution, good answer to a question, and then articulate that into a message that made sense that we could get things done. And in doing that, they encouraged me to run for mayor, and I thought about it for a while, and I asked several people around town, including some past mayors, and everybody encouraged me to do it that I talked to. I'm real excited about this. This is something I've wanted to do for a while, and it just sort of evolved from council to mayor at this point. The biggest issue in the city for me right now, it's a lot of small towns have the same issue. The populations in small towns around the country, in a lot of cases including ours, populations have aged a bit. Young people left during the Great Recession looking for work, and that's left a bit of a void for young families. There aren't as many in small towns as there once were, and you see that when you see declining enrollments in the schools, for example, and you see it when you see the employers struggling to fill jobs, just looking for that working age individual. And that's the biggest issue I think we've got. It's kind of ironic. We've got people that want to move into Richland Center. We have a red hot housing market, people trying to get here, and we don't have the housing to hold those folks. Meanwhile, we have employers with open jobs they've struggled to fill, and we have declining enrollment in our schools at the same time. Well, we need to open that door. I think housing, a lack of available housing, is a critical problem for us. We need to fix that to get more contributors, more young families in, more workers in here to grow the tax base. If we don't do that, there are really only three ways to fund the city and keep it running. One is to grow the tax base and get more people paying in. A second way is to, you say, well, we don't have any more money, we're going to have to cut services. Well, nobody wants that. And the third one is to consistently raise taxes on the people we've got. Well, I don't have any interest in that at all. There's an end to that. We can't keep doing that. We need to look out for our retirees. We need to understand that we've got a high concentration of retirees in this town, and that's a really good thing because those are people who are from here. Those are people who contributed here their whole lives and built what we have. We need to respect that, and now to honor that and help grow the city, bring some young folks in here into some new housing so that we don't continue to tax those folks into a problem. I don't think people understand the asset that the retired folks in this community bring, what they are. Their opportunity, they bring opportunity. Those are people with background and history here, knowledge of the area, but also there are a lot of jobs here dependent on those folks, jobs in healthcare and things like that are some of the better jobs in town. So we're going to insulate our older population by repopulating the younger population. We can't do that without more housing. There was a recent study done that showed about 30% of the houses in Richland Center are at least 80 years old. I think that's too many. It's a problem. It's because there wasn't emphasis placed in the past on getting new housing. So now you see Panorama Estates being built. The first building went up. They filled 45 units in a big hurry. The second building will break ground this spring. And I'm told they have about 20 people waiting for that. Nearly half of those units are filled and they haven't even broken ground yet, or potentially filled. Well, next step would be some single family homes too. And then you can't just say, get me young people. How do you do that? Well, I intend to recruit people who work from home. I worked out of my house in Wanakee for 11 years. I ran a marketing company there. My wife works out of our house in Richland Center now for a company based in Eau Claire. It's a growing trend. Companies save money when they don't have as many people in offices that they have to heat and cool and clear snow and all the expenses that go with maintaining a facility. So there's businesses all over the place in Wisconsin and throughout the country that actually prefer to have some of their people work from home. Well, why not bring them here? For instance, if you get a young couple, and it doesn't have to be a couple, but what if you get a young couple to move into town, and one of them brings a job with them, and the other one becomes available to work in one of our local businesses? Well, what you've just done, you've grown that tax base. Maybe you brought a young couple in. If they choose to have children, maybe they go to our schools, which is a good thing. And you've also diversified the local economy because one of them brought a job with them that wasn't already here. When you look online, you can find these companies. You can find the database. I met a man recently, works for a big insurance company here in the state, and his entire division works from home. So I see a future where we put some new homes in place and we populate them potentially with young families, not exclusively, and we try to recruit folks who work from their home. I think it's a win every way you look at it, and it can help the city move forward. To grow the city, now we're seeing this happen. There's been a kind of a change in local attitude in the last couple of years. What you can't do in a small town is you can't divide yourself up into little camps. We're for this but not that, we're for this but not that. There are only 5,000 people in Richland Center, and there are only 18,000 in the whole county. We can't split ourselves off and fight over what we want. We can't afford to. What we've got to do is work together to grow this community. And that means making decisions together on what the priorities are. Well, ask anybody in town. They don't want any more property tax increases. Ask anybody in town. They want some businesses we don't have right now. People tell me all the time, I want a grocery store. Well, I'm with you, I want one too. Why don't we have one? Well, we've talked to several, actually, and they've all come back with the same answer. And they say, Richland Center's a fine market, actually, and at some point you'll get a grocery store. The reason you don't have one right now is because you do have a Walmart, and you have a lower traffic count than we're used to. So if you take a bigger one, take an Aldi's or a Festival Foods or something along that lines, they simply are telling us we need more people, we need more traffic past where we could build than what you can offer. Or you need to attract a smaller grocer, and a smaller grocer has a problem competing with Walmart. So take the grocery store as one example and just magnify that across business. That's kind of where Richland Center is. If you want to attract businesses that aren't here right now, the answer is always the same thing. You've got to grow the traffic count. You don't have enough people in your place. You don't have enough young folks shopping in those stores right now. Okay, so we heard that. We need to work together. We can't be cutting ourselves off to say only this or never that. It takes cohesiveness in a small community to get anything done. It takes team building and leadership. We know what we need to get what we want. Work together with us and we'll get there. Richland Center is a fantastic place to live, And it's easy to overlook this maybe if you've lived here a long time, if you've never lived anywhere else. So living away from here for 29 years actually gives me a great perspective on this. I'm from here. This place is in my blood. I'm back for good. But in the middle of that, I was in 6 other towns over 29 years. So I saw what life is like in a lot of other places. I saw how things are done in a lot of other places. So coming back to Richland Center now, I have a terrific appreciation for the best things about where we live. And you may not understand, there's a lot of people out there that are actually very jealous of Richland Center because of our natural scenic beauty that they don't have. Because people here are still pretty friendly and open. For the most part, you go through town, you'll get a smile and a wave most of the time. Because it's safe here. You understand that it's not perfect in Richland Center, but when you compare us to a lot of places people live, this is still a safe place to call home. And it's quiet here compared to a lot of places. And affordable here compared to a lot of places. I lived in Wanakee for years, which is a wonderful city, and it's booming. The problem with booming the way they have is it's priced a lot of people right out of that market. Well, that's not what we want. We also don't want the traffic issues they have. We also don't want the expense. If you think property taxes are something here, they're much higher in Dane County. So we don't want to get to that point. That's not where we're headed. But we need to move from where we've been. Just rely on the strengths of the community, the way our people pull together. Take a look at the Aquatic Center project. How many towns do you know that could pull almost $2 million in private money to build a public resource like that? I don't think I've ever seen that. Not like that. And if you look at who did it, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the donor list, the pledge list for the Aquatic Center. But it's people like Phil Back and Jones Chevrolet, Wallace Cooper and Elliott, and the Credit Union and the Richland County Bank, and Denny Jackson, people like that. It's the heart of this community who put differences aside for the common good. Richland Center's always kind of been unique that way. New ideas come from here. It's easy to lose that, but you shouldn't. You should be proud. I am proud of the fact that this city was one of the places that launched the women's suffrage movement. This city had the first high school marching band in the country. Just this year, the first city in the country to ban raising dogs and cats for medical research. Not every town has that sort of forward thinking, but Richland Center does. We're in a great place. We're positioned to grow. We have unused capacity in our sewer plant. We've got a new water tower coming online, which means we'll have more capacity there than this city's ever had. We have unused capacity in our schools. So if we do get population growth, we're primed for that. We don't have to build a new school. We don't have to start with all that infrastructure. We're just ready to get the land purchased, get the development going, put the utilities, the street in, and there you go. Most places can't say that. Richland Center's ready to go. When you talk to people who want to live here that don't, and they say, I can't find a house. Do you know there are people that have looked a full year to find a house to move into? And they're still looking and they're willing to come? It's because when they do come here, you can look in any direction and see these beautiful hillsides. You can get on the Pine River on a kayak. You can go walk, just sit by the river. Just sit down there on one of those benches and watch that water move. Go to the fireworks on the 4th of July and see everybody having a good time. And before you know it, you're making friends. Sit in one of the businesses downtown. I don't know if you've noticed, but downtown Richland Center is busier than it's been in years. You go down there on a Monday night, the restaurant is full of people, the coffee house has open mic night, 3 blocks of cars up and down Court Street. I hadn't seen that since I was a kid. It's happening. People complaining because they can't find a parking space on a weeknight in downtown Richland Center. It's a new day. There's new energy here. There's a new attitude here. We're growing. We're moving. Now we just need to pay attention to which direction we're going and build it the way we want it. To do that, like I said before, come out with us, meet with us, and grow with us. We need to hear the ideas from the people around the town, build the consensus, make the decisions, and move forward. When you get involved in city council, the first thing you learn is how many constituents you actually have. You think you know what you got into, and then your phone starts to ring and your email fills up. And it's what you thought you'd be doing, but it's a lot of things that you probably didn't consider because there are a lot of people to hear from and a lot of points of view. The important thing about getting into public service, being an elected official, is you have to be able to admit when you don't know and ask. First thing is ask for more information. If you don't know, ask again. And the second thing is you're not always right and they're not always wrong. You have to be willing to hear maybe even opposing points of view or certainly new points of view. And don't rush a decision. I've always said a good leader listens to the left and listens to the right and then decides from the middle. You need to hear both sides, but don't be overly influenced by either one. Once you've heard what other people are thinking and you've listened to the other people in the room, step back, slow yourself down, make your own choice based on information. It's okay to slow the process down to make sure you're making the best decision. And if you're ever considering serving on a committee or maybe running for city council, go for it. We need contributors. If you think you've got ideas to offer, get in here. Just jump in. And the next thing you know, you'll be helping shaping the future of the city. And when you do, just bring your ideas to the table, listen to the people in the room, make your own choice. I've served on the Tourism Commission for the last year with the late Lon Arbogast and with several other wonderful people. And I want to make sure people know tourist activity in Richland County is growing faster than any place around us. The reason that is because we've embraced multiple activities here. We didn't say it has to be the Pine River. We didn't say it has to be ATVs. We didn't say it has to be bicycles or it has to be Frank Lloyd Wright or it has to be events at the fairground. We said it has to be all of them because that's how you do it. So what we've done is we've promoted the Frank Lloyd Wright connection to the city. It's working. We've promoted bicycle trails. It's working. We've promoted ATV access. It's working. We've promoted still the high school rodeo and the 4 Seasons of Fun and the events out at the fairgrounds, and that's working. And one of the things that you can see, go down to the Pine River. I started last summer. For 6 or 7 weeks every Sunday I would go down and I'd watch people get out of the river with their kayaks. And I'd introduce myself and I'd ask them if they'd had a good time. I'd ask them where they were from. There were people here from San Diego, California to kayak the Pine River. The first time that lady said that to me, I just stared back at her for a minute. I said, "Really?" She said, "Don't you understand? It's beautiful here." And she's from San Diego. And she said, "I have family in the state, and they told me about Richland Center, Wisconsin. And they told me about the Pine River. They said, come out here with us." And she said, "I had a blast." She said, "The rock formations here, I've never seen anything like that." And she said, "I can't wait to do it again." And the next week it was people from Oshkosh. And they said, "We'll be right back down here with new people." Well, what that's led to, among the other things, the bed and breakfast industry here is absolutely booming throughout the county. There are people coming. I've got a friend who's got a B&B. He's got people staying here from St. Louis, Minneapolis, Chicago, Milwaukee. They're coming from everywhere. And they choose here because they already have the city. They don't want that. And they come out here to be on our river, or bike trail, hike, whatever they do. They came to see the 80 German warehouse. And they all say, "Man, what a friendly town. Holy cow, Richland Center's so open. People I don't know holding doors for me, saying hello, waving at me on the street." She said, "That doesn't happen." Or they say, "That doesn't happen where we live." So we're coming back. And when they come back, they bring friends. Well, here we go with the same idea when I was talking about the need to grow the population base so that we can grow the tax base for our local citizens to prevent having to continually raise taxes. Tourism also helps with the same thing because it brings dollars that don't live here. It's money we didn't have to contribute. It came with the people from the outside. I believe tourism is an absolutely critical part of the, it needs to be an absolutely critical part of the economy here going forward. I believe it will be. The commitment is there from the city and the county. I would put that behind new housing as probably the most important thing we need to do. Let's grow housing, get more people living here. Let's grow tourism, get more people visiting here. Let's see what that does to the local economy. I think it'll be great. I think it'll help all of us get some of the things we don't have here that we wish we did without losing the best things that we never want to lose.